Hi, guys. Welcome to the Simple Doesn't Mean Easy podcast. We are here weekly working at simplifying things in our lives, one step at a time, one day at a time. And together we can do this. I'm your host, Michelle Visser, and I am glad you're joining me today. We are talking about something that I think is really important this time of year. I think a lot of us, even if we are working at making our holiday very intentional, very focused on quality time with friends and family and not all about the gifts, even so, in general, it's a time of year that all of us are spending a little bit more with retailers. And I wanted to just kind of take a pause and think about who we're spending our money with and think about the options we have with small business versus the big box stores and going online. And also, I want to share with you something that I'm actually right in the middle of dealing with. So I'm not going to give you too many details because I'm actually in the middle of a large battle with a local store. So I also want to give you just a little bit of caution about how it is different when you're dealing with a small business versus Amazon or something else. So, all of that, the real side of all of it, we're going to be talking about today. So, I'm glad you're here. Guys, we talk so much on this show about our toxic environment and the toxic products around us. I have great news for you. I have found the most amazing small business that is truly making a difference. Please go meet hearthandhomesteadstore.com. They're making all natural products, genuinely all natural, with simple ingredients, plants, herbs, grass-fed tallow. And these simple ingredients have a profound effect on our skin. They're promoting cell growth, reducing inflammation, improving hydration, and so much more. Please go visit our sponsor, hearthandhomesteadstore.com. Snag some amazingly good for you products from lip balm to face lotion to body butter, natural perfumes, all natural diaper cream, and the most amazing soaps you will ever try. So, you're going to feel so pampered after you try some of these products. You are going to be hooked like I am. Save 15% off with the code solely rested and enjoy free shipping on all orders over $100. Don't miss this. Go to hearthandhomesteadstore.com. Before we start in on this topic, I want to also tell you something that happened just this week. One of you reached out to me and said how much I encourage you, inspire you. It was a very sweet note. And then you went on to say, but boy, I really miss your podcast. It's really, I've really missed it for the past year. And I was like, what? So we emailed back and forth, and she basically had not seen an episode for a year since the end of 2023. And I figured out after our correspondence that, well, I really didn't figure it out, honestly. I don't know why I said that. But for some reason, if she unsubscribed from following the podcast and then resubscribed, she then got like a plethora, like everything came into her messages and she saw all of my last year's worth of podcast episodes. So I tell you all this. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if there was an update. She uses Apple Podcasts, which I know is the biggest percentage of what you guys use to listen to this for your platform. Um, and so I don't know if there was something that happened with Apple and they had like an update a year ago with the beginning of 2024 or something, and it somehow glitched for my show. I have no idea, but I say this because if, first of all, if you aren't subscribed to the podcast, I would love it if you go over and do that on your favorite platform. If you go to solelyrested.com/podcast, I list a lot of the most popular platforms right there if you're not sure where you want to go listen. And you can also just listen on that page. I also have embedded the most recent episodes there so you can scroll through and actually listen right on that page, solelyrested.com/podcast. So if you subscribe somewhere, great. When you're there, if you leave a review for me, even better. It makes a huge difference with the algorithm and how many people get to even know that this podcast exists. So please, if you are encouraged by the podcast, please, I appreciate a review. But all of that to say, you can always go to solelyrested.com/podcast and see the latest episode. So if for some reason you're like, I haven't heard from Michelle in a while, I wonder what's up with her podcast, you can go see what the latest one was very easily anytime. Also, you can reach out to me anytime if you have a problem like she does and find out what's going on. um, and I don't know what else I was just going to say, but know that I'm not going anywhere. I've told you guys, this right here is my most favorite thing that I do. And it is encouraging to me as well as to others. And I love being here. I love getting behind the mic and chatting with you. So I'm not going anywhere. If for some reason you're subscribed somewhere and you don't see episodes coming in, know that there's some kind of a glitch. And if you resubscribe, it should hopefully fix itself. Okay. So, according to the Small Business Association, as of 2023, there are over 33 million small businesses across the country. That number startled me because I genuinely thought it would be lower after 2020. I don't know if a lot of businesses started maybe in 2021 and are thriving now, or if that number wasn't as greatly impacted as I thought it was. But it still is so encouraging. 33 million small businesses across the US. And those businesses employ, this number is amazing. I mean, because you would think, okay, there's a lot of them, but a lot of them are just single run businesses, right? Like the owner is running it by himself because it's out of his office in his home and it's really small still. And I'm sure that is the case for some of them, but they employ 62 million people. So on average, they all have at least two employees, right? Of course, some of them have a lot more and some only do have the one, but still, it's a really cool, encouraging number to know that. That also tells me we don't have to go to Amazon. We have local choices. We might have to search them out. We also might have to use a little bit of caution, and that's where my story comes in. Um, I think before I tell you that, though, I want to give you some other ideas. I wrote down a bullet list of reasons that it's really good to go local when you can. First of all, you wouldn't normally think of this, but local small businesses are going to be more innovative. They have to be able to even start up, not alone thrive. And the innovative, that's not a word, the innovativeness, their ingenuity is going to give you, in a lot of cases, some really great customer service and some really great products, better than you can get when you go online. Also, if you think about it, it even gives us in the long run as a nation amazing technology. I mean, just think of the Wright brothers. Like we are still, of course, benefiting hugely from their innovative design of an airplane, but the small towns that are associated with them are also thriving still because of what they invented over 100 years ago. Their town where they were born in Dayton, Ohio, and then in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. You can go to either of those towns, and all over the town, you will find a lot of businesses and resources that are thriving because of the Wright brothers and their airplane. So that's maybe an extreme example, but who knows what small business in your town might get in the history books and make your small town known forever because of their ingenious idea or their ingenious business. Also, of course, they pay local taxes. If you can find somebody in your area who provides what you are in need of, you're benefiting extra because you're paying less taxes in the long run because those businesses are paying not only their property tax, but of course, taxes on their earnings as well. And that means a little bit of a tax break for the people living in that town. In contrast, of course, taxes that are paid to an e-commerce retailer or to a giant national company, they typically do not benefit you locally in any way. Also, I love it that a lot of small businesses, and from I guess for the rest of this episode, pretty much we're not just talking about the ones you can walk to down the street in your town, but also just the small businesses that you can access from the wonderful ability of online now. So I don't want to say that all e-commerce businesses are bad. I'm actually talking about a lot of e-commerce small businesses today. Um, but a lot of these small businesses have realized that it is a win-win situation for them if they are helping in charitable ways. And, a portion of what you buy is going to helping these great causes. And it's, like I said, a win-win for them. It boosts their brand. And it also, of course, gives them marketing opportunities, but it also is supporting something that's really important to them and to their consumers. So that's pretty cool. But I think the biggest reason, the number one reason that I wanted to do this episode, honestly, is the fact that when you purchase small, the money is used in different ways in the long haul. For every dollar that you're giving to something like Amazon, do you know how much of that will trickle down and have any impact on the average person in a good way? They say about 5 cents. On the other hand, if you're spending a dollar at a small business, on average, 68 cents of that will trickle down to the average consumer in some way. So if you could slowly move the way you're spending your money from Amazon to a smaller mom and pop run business, you're going to start uncentralizing the money. Is that what I want to say? It becomes a pretty dangerous game to play if we start putting all of our money in a large centralized area with large centralized companies, right? We want to keep it more locally centralized whenever possible. So, on top of that, it just really feels good to know the person you're buying from and to know that you're helping their family, you're encouraging them. It just feels good. So, I think now's a good time to tell you my story though, because I don't want anyone to be naive. And I mean, my parents used to do it all the time. They would find somebody local, a friend of a friend, and try to give them the job of whatever small thing they needed done around the house or painting or whatever it was. And I saw it time and again that they pretty much got screwed over. Like the person either didn't do a good job or they took their money before the job was done. Um, so I grew up being aware of that, but yet still I make stupid choices sometimes when it comes to where I'm putting my money. And like I said, I'm not going to tell you all the details, but suffice it to say, Bill and I invested a large, many thousands worth of dollars investment into one purchase. And well, I'll tell you what it was. It was a wood stove, um, a cast iron wood stove. And I'm trying to think of how short I want to make this short. So it arrived broken, but we could not have, because it's a small business and their profit margin is very small. They informed us they could not deliver it. We had to bring it home ourselves. And we said, okay, Bill's a mechanic. He has a truck. He has a forklift here at home. He knew he could get this heavy stove off the truck and into the house. I personally didn't want him to have to do with it. So I said, look, I'll pay you the extra amount so you're not losing money. Can I just pay you? How much would it cost to have somebody deliver it? And they said, no, sorry, we can't do it. We don't make any money on that. We just can't. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, but I'm telling you, I'll make sure you make money on it. But they said no. So I didn't push it. Because, mainly because Bill was rolling his eyes at me like, stop, Michelle, it's okay. So we get it home. Bill uses his forklift, gets it down, sets it inside the barn, takes this intense box, like a pallet like box around it, takes that off, unwraps layers of plastic that's protecting it, and right away notices a piece of it is broken. And at that point, we really weren't concerned. We knew they were going to take care of this, right? I mean, it's obvious. We just bought it. It arrived broken. Of course, they're going to replace it. The only concern we had was it was starting to get cold. This was mid-October, And this is our main source of heat, our wood stove. And our other one needed major repair if we were going to use it this year. And we decided instead of investing major repair in our old one, we would just replace it with a new one. Boy, did we regret that decision. Anyway, so our only concern was, okay, this is probably going to take a week or two. And that's another problem sometimes when you go with a local business, that they don't have a lot of manpower, and it does take time sometimes for them to resolve any issues you might have. But typically, in my experience, they're eager to resolve it, right? Not in this case. So it is now a month, 5 weeks later. And I will sum it up by telling you that they refused to fix it. They blamed it on us that we had damaged it. And of course, there was nobody inspecting it when it was all boxed up and wrapped up and we brought it home. Nobody said, hey, take a look at this before you go home with it. Because if it's broken, we're going to say you broke it, And you couldn't see it. It was all wrapped up, which it should be to get it home safely, right? Anyway, um, so here we are 5 weeks later, and I finally pulled in the big guns, which is another thing I want to recommend to you. If you are making a large purchase and it's not with someone like Amazon, who their return policy, they're going to take anything back and it's not going to be a problem. If you're going with a smaller business who you really don't know how the returns are going to work, try to always use a credit card. I am not a person that walks around saying credit cards are great, because I know they can get some people into trouble if they're not financially wise. But if you are financially wise, a credit card is a wonderful tool that you can use for a lot of different reasons. And one of them is this very reason. They will come to bat for you. They will be in your corner. And when something like this happens, they're going to hold the merchant accountable. So after 5 weeks of trying to resolve this, being yelled at by the owner, I'm not returning my calls. I mean, I really did want to resolve it. I didn't want to walk out on this small business without a resolution, but it got to the point that I had to. So I pulled in my Discover account and I filed a chargeback, and they are now working at legally resolving it with the store. So, a few things that you can learn from this if you're buying from a small retailer and it's a large purchase. You can certainly see if they're in Better Business Bureau. I found that that was not the case. This store was not, and I didn't check there first, but I should have. Um, and it turns out that actually a lot of businesses are not in Better Business Bureau, and maybe for good reason. First of all, it costs money every year to be a member of it. And second of all, you're then held to their standards, and they can make things pretty complicated for you. Plus, you're paying for it. So I can see why some small businesses are not in it, but you always have Google. Go to Google. Didn't even cross my mind. I mean, it seemed like a nice little shop. Seemed like the employees were, willing to help us. It did never cross my mind. Should I check the reviews? Because as soon as this started happening, about halfway through, and I went to Google and I realized, oh, this is not uncommon for this store. And oh, the owner has called many other customers and screamed at them. Oh, so if I had just went to Google first, I would have found a different store, a better store to go to purchase my $5,000 wood stove. But hindsight is 2020, right? Also, you can go to local Facebook groups, and say, "Hey, anybody know anything about this store? I'm thinking about making a large purchase," and you'll probably get back some responses. You might hear some really good ones, and you might hear some that make you steer away from that store. Um, and also, I guess that's it. Just if you have a credit card, to use that as well, because so far that has proven to be wonderful for me. They really are in my court, and they really are, I think, going to take care of this. When it's all resolved, maybe I'll share the story and let you guys know. If I will say this, if you are in the New England area and you're looking at buying a wood stove for this winter, please reach out to me and I will share with you where to not buy your stove. I want to pause right here with a question for you. We talk a lot here on the show about how important simple little things can be and how one simple change can really make a huge impact over time. But do we think about some of the most basic, simplest things in our kitchen? Do we think about the ingredient that we probably use the most? And do we make sure that we're choosing the best? I'm talking about salt. And I know when you go to the store, there are a lot of choices in front of you. But about 6 or 7 years ago, I eliminated every other choice. There is only one choice for me, and that is Redmond Real Salt. And actually, it's a fascinating topic that if you want to go to episode 142, we get into a whole lot of detail about the myths about salt and why real salt is important. But let me just tell you right now, please go to solely rested, SOULY rested.com/salt, because I want to share with you more details about this company and an amazing discount code that you can use anytime, all the time. And I've listed my 9 all-time favorite products that I always have in my kitchen from Redmond Real Salt. Believe it or not, they have a lot more than just salt, guys. Go check out these 9 products. Go to solelyrested.com/salt and make sure you enjoy that discount code as well. Have you seen the new green mill on the market that I've been talking about? If you've been wanting to stop using the dead flour that has been sitting on your store shelf for who knows how long, and if you want to start milling your own nutrient dense flour that's going to add 40 out of the 44 essential nutrients to your food, go to solelyrested.com/flour. SOULY rested.com/FLOUR. Guys, go check out the 4 grain mills that I share there. These are grain mills that I have tested thoroughly and I highly recommend. You can skim through my exhaustive guide for choosing the best grain mill, and you can make 2025 the year that your flour is truly the best it can be. Go to solelyrested.com/flour. Use my exclusive saving codes that you'll find there. Start milling your own flour for as little as $179. Go check it out, solelyrested.com/flour. But back now onto the positive things. Forget about that negative thing. Let's get on to the positive. I have written down, I have a list here of some of the small businesses that I truly love. They are small, family run, um, and they just have proven to me time and again that they have the best products and amazing service. And every single one that I mention, I think every one has a code that I can offer you as an exclusive savings if you want to go meet any of these companies. If you use the code, if you use the code solely rested, SOULYRESTED, you will save on purchases from any one of these, because these are companies I've been working with for years and they love you guys and they want to do that for you guys because they know they want the customers like my listeners are. So, first thing is just ingredients. Carlin, and I think this is one thing about a small business. You can always, if they have a website, find out their story, find out their history. And I think it's so cool that often a small business was formed around a really interesting story of somebody that had a health problem or that had a true need, or a child had a need of a product that simply didn't exist. And they did everything in their power. This goes back to that first thing I said I love about small business. They did everything in their power to be innovative and ingenious and solved their own problem. And in the process, realized there were a lot of other people out there that needed the same thing that they needed. And Carlin is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. She was on a really difficult health journey for many years. She battled true suicidal depression. And as she started sharing her story on social media, she realized that there were a lot of other people that she was helping that were also struggling with the same issues she was having. And her struggle to find what she realized was a lot of it came down to, um, I haven't heard her whole story, but I've heard bits and pieces. It came down to endocrine disruptors and poor quality ingredients in some of the products she was using on a regular basis. And she couldn't find personal care and nutritional products she was looking for that had true, only real ingredients. So she started making them one at a time. And she has built up quite a line of amazing products that are all truly real ingredients, no endocrine disruptors, no junky materials in any of her products. And she's still committed, I love it, to educating people as well. So she's on social media every single day, just offering free education and value. And it's a great company, Just Ingredients. Check them out. They're my favorite protein powders in the world. Zero anything junky, truly high quality protein powders. Um, they have great lip balm and serum. I love their face serum and lotion. I really like their lotion. I could not find a lotion for my hands or body lotion that was that felt like a Lubriderm kind of lotion. That's what I used to always use when I picked it up at Walgreens, that didn't have the bad ingredients until I found Just Ingredients lotion. Really good stuff. So check them out, use my code, see what you think. I can't say enough about it. I've loved everything I've ever gotten from Just Ingredients. Um, Positively Tea. You guys hear me talk about them all the time. It's such a fun thing to tell you. First of all, for years have been looking for a loose leaf tea company that was organic, that wasn't expensive. And it took me years to find one. So when I found Positively Tea, I was so happy to taste the teas, realized how delicious they were, realized they had bulk sizes and everything, and realized I could get these truly organic, good for me teas at a really good price. I mean, I fell in love with them instantly. I knew I loved them at that point, and I knew I would recommend them to you guys. But within months of me first mentioning this company to you guys, I got an email from someone that made me so happy. I don't remember her name, but she said, Michelle, first of all, I love these teas. But second of all, I turned over the bag and I was just reading the fine print, which I giggled. I said I giggled because that's what I do. I didn't know a lot of people did that. But anyway, and she said, I couldn't believe it. I almost choked on my tea as I was drinking it. And I read the town that this company is in. And I got so happy because I realized they're the company that has just taken over this large factory building in my close friend's town. And it's been so good for the town. I didn't realize who the company was, but now I know, and it makes me love this tea so much more. And she explained that this was a Rust Belt town, and families were so poor off, and all the businesses had moved out. It was really a dilapidated, not doing too great town. And Positively Tea came in, and suddenly the town turned around. Like there was job openings, and they were improving the building, improving the town. So that made me elated to know not only is it a great product that I truly believe in, not only does it taste delicious, but this is a company who's making a difference in a small town in rural America. Like, thank you. Yes, that's what it's all about. So, Positively Tea and Positively Botanicals. Go check them out. Use my code, try out some of the amazing medicinal organic stuff that they offer, and know that you're genuinely helping a small town as you do it. Next up is the newest to me on this list of businesses I'm sharing with you today. They've been around, I think, since 2016, but they are a new discovery for me that I'm super excited about. Lily Wilmoth has a story that I think a lot of moms can relate to. At least I know I certainly dealt with this when I was pregnant every time. She had horrible, itchy skin her whole first pregnancy. I feel like hers was probably even worse than I dealt with, though. It sounds like it literally drove her to insanity, just the horrible irritation that she was dealing with on a daily basis. So she, at the time, was slathering herself with all the different lotion and moisturizing products she could find, looking for some relief. And being a first time pregnant mom, she, for the first time, was really starting to think about ingredients. And she started looking at what was in all of these things that she was slathering all over her skin. And she realized, wait a minute, I am slathering toxins and chemicals I can't pronounce all over the largest organ of my body. And she knew she wanted better, not only for her, but for the child she was bringing into the world. So when she couldn't find what she was looking for, she decided to fill the void. And like so many innovative small business owners do, she worked her butt off and worked hard to truly create the exact things that she wanted for her family. And she started making soaps and lotions, even diaper ointment, amazing lip balms, even perfumes. And all of them she makes with only the best natural ingredients. I literally feel like Lily and the whole gang at Hearth and Homestead store have my back. Like, it's amazing when you find a company that you feel like you can just trust what they're doing and you know they have your best interest at heart. Um, and they're fully committed to totally synthetic free ingredients. And I love it that they're completely transparent with their ingredients. Guys, you know that that is the sign of a really great company that you want to invest in some way, because it's hard to find, right? Companies are so um, they put their ingredients behind a wall that you can't get to, and they're so very secretive about what they do. And I get it, because they don't want other people to be able to copy what they're doing. But in the end, it means we wind up having ingredients in our products that we don't even know they're there or what the results of them are. Um, and I mean, they're generally recognized as safe GRAS ingredients. We had a whole episode about that. Trust me, they are not safe. Um, so I love it that Lily is transparent. Every single product that you look at that you consider purchasing from Hearth and Homestead store, you can see exactly what's in it. On top of that, they source this is what really got my attention when I started looking at their products, and I realized that they are literally sourcing their products from the best source that they can. They are getting tallow from small farmers who are practicing regenerative agriculture. I actually know the town where Lily's family lives. I got excited when I realized that. And I've been there. I know I've driven by these farms. I know they're amazing. They're legit. And when you're using tallow from a farmer who is raising his cattle regeneratively, you are getting the highest levels of vitamins and minerals. So when you're putting these products on your skin, it's literally the best thing you could be putting on your skin. So even all those other tallow companies out there, they're great. I'm not going to knock tallow ever. If you have tallow products in your home, that's awesome. Use them to the last drop. But all tallow isn't the same. And I love it that Lily has chosen to use the best tallow. So, when you find a small business that literally has, like with Lily, filled the void, and they're making what they want for themselves and their family, then what they're selling you is the best that can be made. And I love that about small business. When Lily started making perfumes, she knew that she only wanted to use the most responsibly sourced ingredients, and everything that she uses is traceable. A lot of perfume companies, I actually have just recently learned this, a lot of perfume companies rely on lab made synthetics to mimic the beautiful fragrances that they're touting and telling you are in their perfume, like sandalwood. That's a really popular one that you hear of in perfume. But it turns out a lot of those things, like sandalwood and jasmine and rose, are actually essential oils that are really hard to source, and they are extremely expensive. So all the perfume companies instead choose to make their own version of that smell. So of course it's 100% chemical, 100% man-made synthetic junk that we're spraying all over our body every morning and evening. Um, in a world where, in a world where I will be able to talk, natural perfume companies, they even call themselves natural, rely on the chemical substitutes because there's no other way to have a good bottom line and a good profit margin. Um, I love it that in that world, there's Hearth and Homestead store on the front lines showing those big companies that what they're doing is not natural and showing that it can be done. I always rooted for the underdog. I still do. If there's a sport event that Bill's watching and I don't really know either team, I instantly know, okay, well, I want to know who the underdog is. He always knows if I sit down, he has to fill me in on the story, and then I'm going to root for the underdog. That's just the way. Who doesn't want to root for the underdog? So to see these small businesses showing the big ones, guess what, guys? It can be done, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to fill the void where you guys refuse to fill it. I love it. No wonder that we want to support small business because they deserve our support. They really do. So go visit Hearth and Homestead Store. Check out, I love so much there. The perfumes are great. I love the soaps, so many soaps. And they all have different, you actually have to read each ingredient and read each description of the soaps because they all have different purposes and uses and amazing different profiles of scents. So good. And they do have unscented too. I personally like unscented soap most of the time. They have some amazing ones. And did I say lip balms? Fantastic lip balms. Their tallow balm is like none other. Just so many great things. I'm sure I will be telling you guys more about this stuff because I can't keep quiet about it. So be sure you use code SOLELYRESTED. It will get you 15% off at hearthandhomesteadstore.com. Anne owns Farmhouse Teas. And I knew Farmhouse Teas actually before Positively Tea. And what I really love from from Cian is not, I don't usually buy my teas from her. Although I do often send people to her not coffee tea because it is almost an exact replica of what I make in a homemade blend. I have the recipe on my blog. I'll leave it in the show notes. If you are a person who's trying to cut back on coffee or trying to cut back on caffeine, this blend is for you. It is delicious. It is always my favorite go-to. In fact, I have a cup of it right here as I'm recording this podcast. So I will send people to Farmhouse Teas for the not coffee teas that they have. If you don't want to make your own, you can go look at my recipe and make your own. Or if you want to try a home or a pre-made version, you can go to Farmhouse Teas. But what I really love at Farmhouse Teas are two things. They're kombucha teas because they organic teas that are made especially for flavoring second ferment kombucha. And they're so good. These are flavors I have not been able to figure out to make on my own, but I can purchase these teas and they make amazing kombucha. I also absolutely love her kit that she sells for making homemade Coke and homemade root beer. I have figured out how to make a homemade Coke that I love, but again, I will send people not only to my recipe, but to her if they'd rather just buy it instead of make it. But I have not figured out how to make a homemade root beer. I personally don't like root beer. I actually have never liked root beer. It's just an odd taste to me, but everybody else in my family loves it. So I really should try to make some homemade root beer. I think it would be more of a challenge even than making the Coke. But anyway, I haven't tried that. So I will make Cian's root beer for family members too. So I'll link my recipe for DIY Coke in the show notes as well. And if you want to go see what they have over at Farmhouse Teas, I really recommend both the Coke and the root beer syrups. Like I said, I don't drink the root beer, but my family tells me the root beer is spot on. It's really good. And the kombucha tea is if you make kombucha. And again, use code solely rested. Another one that actually has been on the podcast a couple times and they have sponsored is Redmond Real Salt. Daryl Boschkart has been on the podcast a couple times now. If you want to hear those episodes, it's fascinating details about real salt and how real salt should have minerals, how real salt does not have a large amount of iodine and why that matters. Lots of other good stuff. Episode 142 was a recent one. And back in season 7, episode 1 was the first time that Daryl came on. But their story is a fun one. His father and his uncle started the business, and they still run the business in a lot of ways, with those same roots of how it all started. And Daryl talks about how as a kid he would go play on the salt mound instead of a sand mound, and they still make sure that their product has all the minerals in it that come from the ground. They have never gone the way of refined salt companies that actually can make a lot more money by separating the minerals and selling them to the highest bidders and then just giving us, the consumer, the refined salt and adding a little iodine. Um, they have always chosen to make the same high quality product that they started with. And I love that about them. So if you want to go check out Redmond Real Salt, Redmond Real Salt, use my code Solely Rested and try some things. They have amazing things, not just salt. I personally get the 25-pound bag of salt because it never goes bad. I love that it's down in my root cellar. I have a bucket with a twist on lid, and it's not not that I will ever be able to source myself, grow myself, right? So why not buy it in bulk and save a whole lot of money and have the best salt on the planet available at all times in a bucket in my root cellar? That's the way I view it. But they have a lot of other great products too. So you know what? For them, you could just go to their site, or you can go to the page on my site, solelyrested.com/salt, SALT. And I list my 10 favorite products that I always have on hand from Redmond. And again, use my code if you want to try some out. And a couple more I want to make sure I tell you about. Territorial Seed is a fun company that's rather new to me, but I love it. I said earlier that one thing about small business, you can really tell where their origin was and hear their story, usually, if you just go to their site or just talk to an employee. And if you go to their site, you can see the story of a husband and wife who own the company. And I think it's really cute. They have a spot in their About page that says that they have roughly 70 full time and seasonal employees and about a zillion worms that are always on staff making compost and plant teas for them. So I thought that was cute. But they're a good company. I've been impressed with what I have gotten from them for seeds. I think they do a really good job of growing and harvesting their own seeds, as well as sourcing really high quality seeds. If you're a gardener, go check out Territorial Seeds and use my code. And the last one was also on the podcast. You know what? I did not write down what episode they were in. Um, but it's the company is called Be Rooted Candles, and it is run by two young moms who they first of all, they had a friend whose family had always been in the beekeeping business. And so they knew about beeswax, and this friend and they started making candles. And then the two sisters took off with it and established this business of these really high quality products, not just candles, but lip balm and body butter and just some really great stuff made with the beeswax from the local beekeeper right there where they live. And it has enabled them to be able to stay home with their children and, you know, have fun creating this business. So I love stories like that. Um, I don't know if I have a code for them yet. So let me put a link in my show notes, and I will put information there if there's a code, or you could certainly go try it. Anyway, okay. So that's just some of the ones. I'm positive I'm gonna hit the record button to end this episode. I'm gonna be like, I didn't mention blank or blank because I try whenever possible to deal with family owned small business whenever possible. So there are a lot of companies that I have found over the years that I really love working with. And sometimes it does mean I spend a few more dollars than going to Amazon. But over the years, I have found if I can avoid Amazon, it really makes me just feel better. It tends to get me a better product. And like I said earlier with my story, as long as I'm using some safeguards, then in the end, it's usually a win win situation all the way around for whatever it is I'm looking for. So I hope that encourages you to think about if there's a way to spend your money with a small business this holiday season and that you look into some of the ones that I love. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening, friends. And remember, it is easy to forget how blessed we are to live this life. But God has given us a gift of time that is in manageable units called days. And every day we have the chance to begin again. So enjoy those simple everyday efforts. It's not easy, but it's a good life.